Just log in with the Kali machine.
Yeah. Today we have too much rain, and mashallah, very too much, mashallah, too much rain.
It's very hot here. It's like around 40 or 42 degrees here.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's start with simple basic enumeration for all the services. And before identifying the services, let's go with simple identifying the machine in our active network. For
Yeah,
that part, just go with the ARP scan. Just go sudo permissions and password. I got few IP addresses. Let's go with the first one, 1.3. Copy this one and go with simple nmap hyphen smallest capital V and the IP address. And I'll store it inside a file. For the output, if you want to store it inside a file, you can use the hyphen O option, or you can use this greater than angular bracket to get the output and store it inside a single file. Right? Just go with the file name like nmap.txt. My output will be stored inside this nmap.txt file. Right? But in the
okay.
meantime, just go with simple scan nmap and the IP address, so I can just move further. And here we got some results for the some common services, common ports here. Right.
Yeah,
So let's start with the first common services. Out of these all services, your most common service was your HTTP.
yeah,
And this is the most common service. But instead of starting with the HTTP service, let's start with the first one, FTP service. Right? The FTP service was used to share the files. Right? And if you want to interact with the FTP service, you can just go with the command. You can just use this utility here, FTP, and the IP address here, so that you can connect with the machine and share or download some files from that machine or on that machine. And just press enter. This will prompt you for the username and password, but you don't have any kind of username and password. At that time, what you can do, you can just go with the brute force. And for the brute force, you can use two different tools. First one is Hydra, and second one was Medusa. Both tools were used for the brute force, right? Again, you can use different tool for different things. This is the basic simple format for the Hydra. You can use multiple options. You can use hyphen small l. If you know the usernames, then you can just go with the small l for the single username. If you have a complete list of usernames which you want to try for the brute force, let's say I don't know the username, but I want to identify the username as well as the password. At that time, I will specify the list of usernames and the list of passwords. Right?
mm,
For the list of usernames, you can just go with the hyphen capital L. And for the
mm.
password file, you can just go with the hyphen capital P file.
So
Right?
Hydra is a software for the FTP, kind of software
It's
for
not
FTP.
it's not limited to FTP. You can go with like almost all the services, but not for HTTP.
Yeah, Hydra.
Hydra and Medusa, we have two tools which you can use for different services. It's not limited
Yeah,
to FTP.
okay,
You can
okay.
go with
As FTP,
SSH.
as FTP client, FTP server like this, you mean?
Yeah, you can say. But Hydra was generally used for brute force. You can
Yeah,
just go with almost all the services like simple VNC, SSH, MySQL,
yeah.
simple Telnet, FTP, SMTP. We have different services. But
Like
for the
Booty, like Booty software.
Hydra was the software.
Booty,
Sorry.
Booty software. P,
No, 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 no,
U.
no. That's a different software. Putty was
Ah,
generally used to connect with that machine. Putty was
yes,
generally
yes,
used when you have the private key.
yes.
In Putty, either you have to generate that key, or if you have the private key, you have to generate the keys from Putty using your default keys. But in Putty, you take help for the keys to
Yeah.
get connection with that service. But here with Hydra, we are trying to identify the username and password. We are not using
Okay.
any kind of keys here.
Yeah. So
Right?
there's Hydra to search for the username and password.
Yeah,
Excellent, boss.
just you can just follow these simple examples. Just go with these commands like Hydra. I'm going with hyphen L, small l. I don't know the username. You can just go with the hyphen capital L as well if you don't know the username. Just go with again any word list. It's again your choice which word list you want to use. I'm going with this one. Again, you can choose anyone. You have different word lists out there. If you want to choose a different one,
Yeah.
you can choose from these word lists, right? Let's go with this MySQL username. After that part, let's go with the password. And for password, just go with hyphen capital P because I don't know the password as well. I want to identify the username as well as the password. So I'm going with the passwords. Just go with the hyphen capital P and the file here. So just go with user here. Don't go with word list, go with the sec lists, go with the passwords. And here we have the file which contains all the passwords. Again, different file contain different words and multiple tons of words were there. So you can just go with any word list out there. And I'm just going with this third default password.txt, right? After the username and password, either you are going with a simple username, either you are going with a file. After that, you have to specify the service. If you are using some FTP service, just go with the service name colon slash slash the target IP address. The target IP address was 1.3. Here you have to specify your services. If
Yeah.
you are targeting some SSH services, then just go with the command SSH. If you are targeting the MySQL service, just go with MySQL. If you're
Yeah.
targeting some VNC services, just go with the VNC. Again,
Oh
you have
my
to
goodness.
specify that service here. Again, and right now we're targeting the FTP service. Just go with the FTP, target IP address, and press enter. This will take the list from the use for the username and for the password and try to brute force for the users. When the Hydra gets the success results, this would be listed here, right? Not all the results would be listed, but only success results would be listed here. Rather
Attacking.
than,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah, I see here attacking FTB on
yeah,
Norton. So let's say this one like you try.
you can use Medusa as well. Again, Hydra and Medusa were similar tools. You can use any one of them. And for the username file, we generally use the option small u for a single username. If you don't know the username, you want to use some word list for the username, just go with the capital U and specify your username file here. After that, for the password file, just go with the capital P for the file and small p for a single password.
Yeah.
If you have the password, just go with a single word and just go with a small p for the password. Otherwise, just go with capital P and just go with the file here. Now, the point with Medusa is you have to specify at which service you are targeting right now. And for that, you have to use the option hyphen capital M. We call it module or mode, you can say. You have to specify the mode here, right? And here we are using the FTP service. So just specify your service with the hyphen capital M option and just go with the option hyphen T for the target, or you can use the hyphen H as well. Otherwise, just clear all the command and first let's go with the hyphen hyphen help option. And here you can see for a single target address, just go with the small h. And if you have a list of target IP addresses, just go with the capital H here, right? Again, small u for single username, capital U for the username file, small p for the password, capital P for the password file. Here we have one more option which will better help you, and that was this small t. If you want to scan for multiple username and password at the same time, you can just increase the number of threads, increase the number of concurrent scans with the option hyphen capital T, right?
Mm.
Just go with the command Medusa and go with the hyphen small u. I'm just go with the hyphen capital U and just go with the file, go with capital P, go with the file, go with hyphen M, FTP service was there, hyphen H, target IP address was here, and I'm going with hyphen small t. Let's say I want to scan 20 username password at the same time, right? For that, you can use the option hyphen small t and 20. Same option was available in Hydra as well. If you want to go with some multiple concurrent requests, you can just go with Hydra. Hydra has the same option. Just go with the new tab and go with Hydra hyphen hyphen help. Okay, that's very simple. Hydra and press enter. And you can use this small t for the same parallel task or concurrent request.
Boss,
By
here, what excuse me, what is the result here of the output of this Hydra output? What is the output?
when the Hydra get the success result, let's say my username password. For my username was like ABC, right?
Okay,
And my password was XYZ.
okay,
When my Hydra got the exact username and exact password for which my Hydra was able to get access inside that FTP service, this
yeah,
this scan will automatically stop, share, and show you the username and password. Like I got the success login result for this username ABC and for this password XYZ.
yeah.
So the main
Is it
function,
show is it showing here? It's not showing here. It's showing here
no,
the result. Yeah.
no, it still continues the result.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again,
Still,
that's why I'm saying
still
brute
running.
force.
Yeah.
Yes, still running. Brute force is always a time consuming command, time consuming option.
Yeah.
Again, it depends on your word list, how effective it was. If you have a more effective word list, then probably you got the username and password. Otherwise, you have to change your word list multiple times to
Yeah.
got the right username and password. And for a single word list, it could take around like 1 hour, 2 hour, or entire day as well. Right? So brute forcing is a time consuming thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And my Hydra by default you runs 16 concurrent connection requests. You can see here. Default threads was 16. If you want, you can just increase it to 20, 50, whatever you like. Right? But again, go with your machine configurations first. If you have a strong system, then just go with the number, then only increase the number above 50, above 30, 40. Otherwise,
Yeah.
just stay behind, stay below 30. That would be better.
Yes.
Right? So you can just go with the small t option for the concurrent task or the threads inside this Hydra and inside this Medusa as well.
Yeah.
Medusa will show you result, for every attempt. Like I got the username as dot bash underscore history. Username was this one, dot bash history. My password was controllers. This was my password and this is my username, right?
Yeah. MashaAllah. Yeah.
And when you got the success result, that line would be listed in the green color and you got the number as one completed, two completed, three completed. My Medusa will not automatically stops after getting the success result, but your Hydra stops, right?
Yes.
So you can use any one of the tools. Again, it's your choice, which tool you like. But
Yeah.
both were used for the brute forcing part. Other than this simple brute forcing on the services, you can go with one more option. If you remember the Nmap, we have an option with the name script, right?
Yes.
With that
Yeah.
script, I have shown you some categories. Like we have some categories for the vulnerability, for some discovery part, for some basic enumeration part. There are different categories as well. But inside those categories, we have different scripts as for different services. Let's say I want to use the script specifically for the FTP service. All my scripts reside in this simple directory. If I just go with cd, let's go with user, share, and map and scripts. All my scripts were here inside this directory, user, share, and map and scripts, right? If I
Script.
just
Yeah.
go with ls and grab my FTP scripts, all the scripts which contain this FTP word are listed here, right? Let's say I want to execute all these scripts one by one, but only for this FTP scripts. I want to execute all the scripts which start with the name FTP and we have the hyphen after the name FTP hyphen, right? At that time, I can go with the command nmap hyphen hyphen script. Just go with the name FTP hyphen. I'm going with star. I'm using this star as a wildcard. Let's say I just want to match this FTP hyphen. I'm not curious about the second name. It doesn't matter for me, right? That's why I'm using this asterisk, this star as a wildcard character. I just want to find out this one, FTP hyphen, right? The second word, this anonymous, bounce, brute force, libpy. I don't care about these words. The only thing I care about is FTP and hyphen, right? After that, just specify your port number at which port you want to execute, you want to use all these scripts. So for the FTP
The default,
service, yes,
yeah, default port. Yes, it's right. Default port 21. You are right. Yeah.
like if your FTP service was running on a different port, if I just go back on my simple scanning,
22.
you can see, like, let me just go with the service. Your CC proxy FTP service was running on 2121, right? Let's say
Oops.
your default service FTP was not running on default port 21. Your
Yeah.
victim was using a different port. Let's say like 5365. My victim was using a port number as 5365 as the port number for my FTP service. At that time,
Yeah.
you have to specify the exact port number at which your service was running. It's not limited to the default port number, but you have to go with the right port number on which your FTP service was running, right? So right now, my service was running on port number 21, and I can just verify these simple results here, right? And just go with the port number. After port number, just specify the target IP address for which machine you want to
Yes.
execute all those scripts, and just press enter, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Failed. Failed.
just go with the sudo command. Let's see.
Yeah.
Again, we got some issues with these scripts, but we just scroll down, we just see here, you can see I got some results from FTP service. It says like FTP, anonymous FTP login allowed. It means I can use the username anonymous and I can use the password anonymous to log in inside that FTP service, right? So
Yeah.
you can just go with the brute force, or you can use some scripts to validate that the service allows the anonymous login or not. So inside this FTP service, your anonymous login was allowed. Just copy this username here from anonymous. My username was anonymous here, right? And just paste it here where we have the option for the username. Yeah, here we have the option. Just paste your username anonymous, enter, timeout settings. Let's just go with other command. Nmap, don't go on this tab. And just go here with the FTP IP address. IP address was 1.3. Press enter. Asking for the username, just go with the username as anonymous, password as anonymous, right? If your anonymous username, anonymous login was allowed, you can use these words anonymous as the username and anonymous as a password. And you can see I got access inside that FTP service. Just go with the help command to get a list of all the simple commands which you can execute over that server, over that machine. And here we have some list of machines, list of commands which you can go. If I just go with simple ls command,
Yeah.
here you can see we have nothing. Okay, let's go with pwd where we are. Here is the root directory, but we don't have any files for this anonymous user,
Yeah.
but we got access,
Yes.
right? So you can just try for different things. You can just try with nmap commands. You can just try with simple brute forcing part. Other than this simple brute forcing or the nmap, you can use one more tool, which is again a complete package for all those services you are using. Though that tool can help with all those services. Again, your nmap can also help for all these services. You can use the scripts for all these services one by one, or you can use this tool. We call it Metasploit framework. And for that, you have to start the database, because MSF contains some modules, like some exploits were there, some payloads were there, some common scripts were there, right? And for those modules, for those scripts values, we have a complete database. So first you have to initiate, first you have to start that database, then you can start console. And if you want to go with both the thing at the same time, let's say I want to start my database and I want to start my console at the same time, or with a single command. At that time, just go with the command msfdb and just go with the command run here. You have to execute this command with sudo permissions, because database can only be initiated or started with the root permissions, right? Just go with the command sudo msfdb run and press enter. Just enter the password and
Yeah.
this will start the database and start your console. Metasploit framework. Okay. Inside this Metasploit framework or MSF, we have 7 different modules here. First one was your exploit. Let's say I have some weakness on machine, and to take advantage for that weakness, I have the pre-written code. All I have to do is specify the target at which machine, or you can say at which vulnerable machine you want to execute this code to take advantage for that weakness. We have this exploit. For the weakness, we have the codes, right? We call it exploit. Other than this simple exploit, we have the auxiliaries, which were generally used to identify the weakness to collect more information about the target machine. We generally use auxiliaries there. After auxiliaries, right now, today, we were only focused on these auxiliaries. We will only be using these auxiliaries today, right? Other than these auxiliaries, we have some post scripts. Let's say after getting access, after tracking that system, after getting access to that system, let's say you want to perform some action. Let's say you want to migrate your process, you want to terminate your process, you want to use some background processes, right? For these kind of actions, let's say you want to migrate your access from a system to another system on the network, right? You want to create a backdoor. For these kind of actions, you have some pre-written scripts. We call them post, which were generally used after getting access to that machine. That's why they were called as post script, which were used after getting access. After these post scripts, we have some payloads which are generally used to perform any kind of malicious action. It could be a simple delete action, it could be simple reverse collection action, it could be simple like creating executable file with the malicious code again. But for the malicious behavior, we generally have these kind of malicious scripts, right? And all these 7 modules were stored inside this directory. All the tools, all the files for any software were stored in this directory for the Linux system. Just go with the command cd user share. All your tools were stored here, right? And right now my tool name was Metasploit framework. Just go with Metasploit framework and press enter. Again, here we have multiple files focused on module folder, right? Just go with cd modules. Again, we have some values here. Just go with this payload option. I'm just showing you some payloads here. So payloads, here again, we have some multiple categories for the payload, like single payloads and stager payloads were simple. Like single payloads were generally used. Let's say you have some code which was around like 1 or 2 MB file. You have the code whose size was 1 MB, right? In case of single payloads, all that 1 MB all that 1 MB code will be sent to the victim machine for execution at the same time, right? Your entire code will be executed on the machine in a single go. All these kind of payloads were known as single payloads. We generally call them inline payloads as well, right? Second one was your stager payload or simple stages. Your stager payloads, let's say my payloads, or you can say my code size was around like 1 MB or 2 MB, right? At that time, what I will do, I will just truncate that code. You can say I will just create some fragments for that code. Let's say I'm creating the fragment for around like 256 bits to 56 bytes. So you can say 512 bytes. Right? But I will fragment that program, I will fragment that code into multiple chunks, and then I will execute that code. That was the part of stager payloads, right? Just go with again any category, the stages, and again here we have some operating systems out there. Like you can just go with some Android, BSD was there, Java was there, Linux, Windows was also there, right? Again, we have some options out there. Let's go with Windows, and again here is some architecture, and inside this we have a list of all the payloads out there. They were just the payload which resides inside this folder stages, right? If you just traverse back cd dot slash, let's go to one more time, stages. And again, here we have some stagers.
This packages here.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, this is packages, right? Packages. Or functions, already function.
Your voice is not,
Right?
they are not functions,
I said,
they are pre-written code. If I just open any one of them, just go with GEDIT and let's go open anyone and press enter. They were just pre-written codes. This one was written in Ruby, but again, it's a pre-written code, you can say, which you can use to perform some kind of malicious action. They were just pre-written codes.
A small question said here. What's mean payload? Payloads.
Payload are just the malicious commands, malicious code, you can say. Let's say
Okay.
whenever you create a software, you write some codes. Like if you want to add some, if let's say if I want to go with the option, I want to display a output for 4 plus 6, right? I'll go with the command echo 4 plus 6 and so simply print echo 4 plus 6. To display simple context, you write some codes. Same thing was used for some softwares. When you want to develop a software, you write some codes out there to perform
Yeah.
different actions for some adding, for some calculation part, for some
Yeah.
different complex functions. You write some code, right?
Parameter.
And if that code was written with the malicious intent, or your malicious actions, you can say, like I want to delete some files on the system, I want to start some services on that system, I want to create a backdoor
Yeah.
on that system. At that time, that program, that code will be called as a payload, right? And inside this payload module, we have 592 payloads, which you can use for different actions over different operating systems. You can just go with some Android payload. You can just go with some Windows payload, some PHP, some Python. We have different payload for different languages and different operating systems as well.
Yeah.
Other than this, we have some encoders, which were generally used to translate your data from one form to another. That was the part of your encoders. And inside this Metasploit framework, we have 45 encoders. Other than these encoders, we have 10 NOPs as well. And NOPs were used to bypass the function. Let's say you're using some firewall. You can see your victim was using some firewall, right? If you want to bypass that firewall function, at that time you can just go with the NOPs. The NOPs will generally stand for no operation. When you want to bypass a function, you use these NOPs, right? Other than these NOPs, we have some 7 evasion techniques as well. Just to enumerate about the firewall, IDS, and honeypots, we have some 7 evasion techniques as well, which you can use. But today, we were more focused on these auxiliaries to collect more information about the target, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to go with some specific services, if you're looking for some specific module here in the Metasploit framework, just go with the command search. If you are looking for something, just write the command search and you can just write anything here. You can just write the operating system name, you can just put the service version, service name, anything out there. Let's go with FTP.
Yeah.
We got some results for the post scripts were there, some exploits were there, some payloads were there, but what we want is the auxiliaries, right? So you can directly search for auxiliaries as well. And for that part, just go with the auxiliary slash FTP. Okay, anything wrong?
No.
Okay, you have to specify some other categories as like DOS was there, Windows was there, Fuzzer was there for different scripts, for different text. You can do one more thing. Just go with this command, search FTP, and you can use the grep, right? Auxiliaries. Okay, grep was not working. So you have to go with simple command, FTP, and then just scroll for the auxiliaries. Again, you can use any of these auxiliaries for different functions, for different brute force to take advantage of any kind of weakness, just to verify that your victim was vulnerable to that vulnerability or not. Just to verify that your victim was vulnerable or not, you can use these scripts for the brute force. You can use these scripts to perform the DOS attack on the victim. You can perform these scripts to take advantage of the victim account. You can use these scripts for anonymous logins. You can use these scripts. We have different functions for different FTP services in the Metasploit framework. It's a complete package which you can use for different services, different scripts, right? Other than this simple Metasploit framework, we were already brute forcing with different tools here. Hydra was running and also Medusa was also running. But again, we got nothing till this date. It's still running. On the other hand, if I go with the Medusa was running. We got no results.
Yeah.
So what we can do, access with account for the FTP service, and we got some other simple logins with the FTP service other one, right? Other than this, you can do one more thing out there. So if you remember the command, like this one, where is the command? Let me just check. Like where is the command that I execute to store my results in a file? Yeah, this command. Nmap hyphen smallest capital V for the version detection for all the services on 1.3, and I have stored my results inside this nmap.txt file. If I just open this file, just go with less nmap.txt and press enter. I can see some services were there and some service versions were also there, right? So instead of looking for these services, let's say after verifying these services for the brute force simple, for the vulnerability, for the common configuration part, if you got nothing from those services, you can just do one more thing. Just copy that service version and you can paste on the Google to identify is there any weakness for this version or not, just to verify this thing. You can just copy this version and paste on the Google, or you can just copy this version, directly jump toward the Metasploit framework, and you can search out there. Just go with the command search and paste your service version. Press enter. We got the exploit here. It means for this version, we have the weakness, and to take advantage for the weakness, we have the pre-written code, right? If I just go back to a new tab and let's just go back cd like user share Metasploit framework.
Yeah.
Let's go with modules. Let's go with like exploits. No, we don't have the exploit here.
Yeah.
We have the exploit, right? We have the Unix, we have the FTP. Just follow these directories. Let's go to Unix. We have the FTP, and here we have the code for this VSFTPD 2.3.4 backdoor.rb. If you want to go with and analyze this code for a specific weakness, just go with the command. You again use gedit, or you can use less, more, cat, nano, vim, again whatever editor you want, you can use that part. So let's go with like VSFTPD and press enter. Here we have the script which you can use to take advantage for the weakness which exists inside this FTP version 2.3.4. We have the proper script which you can use, right? This is the payload, right? So, and if you want to use this exploit, if you want to use this module, you can just go with the command. If you want to run this module, just go with the command use. You can just copy this name and paste here. This is one way how you can use this module. Other one was before using. If you have searched anything inside the Metasploit framework, you can specify the number. You can specify the index number, right? Like this one was there in the number 0. The index number for this exploit was 0. So you can just go with the command use 0. And the Metasploit framework will automatically take this exploit, take this module, and select it for you. Right? After selection, just go with the command options to validate, to verify, just to check what option, what variables you have to configure. Just press enter, and here you can see put a variable name rhost, valid variable. It means we have to configure it, we have to give a value. This one is just the variable name, and it acts as an argument that so we have to specify, we have to provide these two arguments when we want to execute this specific module, right? So rhost is a required variable name, as you can see, and its value was blank here. For the configuration part, when you want to configure the value, when you want to set the value for this rhost variable, just go with the command set and the variable name set rhost. Again, it's a case, it's a in case sensitive variable, so you can go with uppercase, you can just go with lowercase as well, both were same, right? So just go with the command set variable name and just go with the 1.3, because inside my rhost variable, your target IP address was configured. Right? So you have to specify your target's IP address. Just go with the command set rhosts, your IP address, and press enter. And again, after that, if I go with the command options, I can see my variable value was set here, right? After configuring all the values, after providing all the values, all the arguments for all these required fields, you can directly execute this module. And for execution, you can use two commands. First one was run. Second one was exploit. Both the commands were same. Both the commands were same. But exploit word was generally used with the exploit modules only, and your run commands was generally used for other different modules, for like payloads, auxiliaries, posts, NOPs, all different kind of modules. We generally use run command, and for the exploit module, we generally use exploit command. But again, you can use exploit for auxiliaries as well. Both the commands are almost same. You can use the command exploit for auxiliaries as well, right? And just press enter. And here you can see we got some sessions, we got some values, we got the connection from this machine. This is the IP address and MAC address. This is the IP address and port number for my machine, right? Because 0000:0 was generally used for the local IP address, right? And this was the target's IP address 1.3, and 6200 was the port number which is used to establish the connection, right? This is a non-interactive shell here. If I just execute any command, I got the results. But in an interactive shell, we generally got this kind of thing like username @ simple username or the work group, you can say, right? We got this kind of syntax. If I change the directory cd, let's say downloads, right? I got the directory name here because this is a complete interactive shell. But in case of non-interactive shell, you can execute the commands, but you got nothing here.
And the best.
Yeah. So if you just go with the command like yes.
So sir, here I think we need to be test at least in my as a homework, and at least we need to search for any username password through this Hydra or other one software for username source for any service. You mean like this?
Like if you are looking for usernames, then you have to use different auxiliaries, different modules, but you cannot search for this exploit. You can do one more thing. You can do one more thing. If you are looking for usernames and passwords through this exploit, right now I'm inside this folder slash. It means
Yeah.
I'm inside the root directory, and all my password in my Linux was stored inside this folder, like this one. What happened? Yeah, just go with the directory cd/etc. Inside this etc folder, we have a file which we call shadow, which contains the password for all the users inside that system, right? Just go with the
Inside
command like
you,
yes.
yeah, inside the network, right? Or the system? What you mean?
You can just go inside the network, you can just go outside the network as well. But the only point is, if you are working outside the network, right, then one of the machine, either your victim's machine, either your simple own machine, one of them require a public IP.
You're right.
Because only then you can interact between different networks.
Yeah.
If the other machine can be called from outside the network, if the other machine have the public IP address, only then you can call it from other networks. You can perform these steps on the local network, on the other networks as well. But at that time, you need a public IP address. The only point is,
Okay.
yeah, for the password, you can just go with this file ls shadow, and here we have the password for different users. Just by analyzing these things, you can just verify like some of them were the default users for this Linux system, right? Like root was there, daemon, bins, is, and all these kind of default users were there. This one was the username for the Apache server, right? And if you scroll down a little bit more, DHCP service was there, system logs were there, SHD was there, and I got a new username name, MSFDB. If you
Yeah.
got a new username, which is not the default one, you can verify like this is the username which I can go with, right? And after that, we have the password. We have the hashed value. This is the hash value for the password with the MSF admin user, right? You can just give it a try to crack the hash value just by comparing it. You can use different platforms, but again, you can just crack this hash value as well, right? And after getting access, you can do whatever you want. You can just enable, disable any services. You can get a list of all the services. If I go with services, just go with the command service. Let's go with status hyphen all. Okay, services status hyphen all. Let me just check. Okay, it's hyphen status and then all. Right, let's use this command service hyphen status and all. Again, it's not working here, but not an issue. Not an issue. I can identify all the services through simple nmap scans as right. But if you want to go with some services as well, you can verify this. So the point is, you can go with the service version name. You can just go with the service itself. For that, you can use some different tools. For brute forcing, you can just go with Hydra and Medusa. If you are going with something like FTP service, you can go with a Hydra and Medusa. But again, if you're going with something like HTTP services, at that time you have to use some other tools like that all those tools act as a proxy server for you, like all the traffic which is originates through your browser will first goes to the proxy software and then goes to the actual server. I'll came back to that part again when we cover the web application writing part. At that time I'll cover that thing, how to go with the brute force with all those proxy softwares. But again, you can use different nmap scripts, you can use metasploit framework again according to this service, how that service works, right? So you can just go with the version, you can just go with the service itself, right? Well, let's say you are using Yahoo account and I'm using a Gmail account, right? When you send a mail to me, your Yahoo's mail server will use the SMTP service first to verify, is there any username with my, is that any username on that Google server with that name or not? First, your SMTP service will verify the user on that machine, right? If it got the username with the exact email address, only then that mail will be transferred to that mail server, right? Just by taking advantage, because there is no authentication for verification of the user. There is no authentication for user verification on the SMTP servers. You can take advantage of that part and you can use the tool SMTP user enum. Now, if you are using some latest version for Kali Linux older than like 2020 version 2020.4, right? If your Kali Linux was older than version 2020.4, at that time this SMTP user enum tool comes pre-installed in your machine. But if you're using the latest one, 2021.1 version, at that time you have to install this. For installation again, you can just go with simple command sudo apt install and the tool name, right? Just to install that specific SMTP user enumeration tool. This tool have multiple modules which you can use. Like first one was your EXPN, which was generally used to get the exact, you can say get the email address for that user, right? Just if you want to fetch the username, if you want to fetch the first name, last name for the specific email address, you can use this EXPN. Or if you want to fetch the email address, even then you can use this EXPN. The second one was your BRFI. When you want to verify, like, is there any user on that server with the email address abc@gmail.com? When you are verifying the user, right, on that machine, you can use the option VRFY. Then the third one was RCPT, which again could be used for the VRFY as well. But again, RCPT was generally used to get the list of email addresses which were received by that user, right? And my
Mhm.
vulnerable machine metasploitable version 2 It's not a complete SMTP server, but again, the service was still running, so we can enumerate some users. It's not a complete SMTP server. So some of the features for SMTP user enumeration were, you can say we cannot use those, we can go with those options, but again, we can go with some of them. So simple option was this one. You can just go with this. You can just go with these examples. Let's go with the command SMTP user enum. If you are verifying the user, right, you have to specify the username. You have to specify the mode with the command -m, right?
I can assign my email address.
Sorry,
Username. I can assign my email address, for example, the username.
You can assign the email address as well, or you can assign a simple username. Like let's say my name was Siddharth, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know my email address at that time, you can specify the username. Just write my name Siddharth, and it will go to the server just to verify is there any user with the name Siddharth or not. So you can go with email addresses, or you can go with simple names as well. Right? If you are going with simple verification part, default is the verification. VRFI mode will be executed default, right? And if you are using this -m VRFI, simple verification mode, then you don't have to specify it. Because by default, this tool uses this option. So you can skip it. Other than this, just go with the file if you know the username. Let's say I know the username, just go with a small u. At that time, just go with simple username like my name, right? And just specify the target with the -t option, and it was 1.3, and press enter. We got the result. We have one counts out there, and we got 0 result. It means there is no user with the name Siddharth on that server. Instead of that, you can specify a complete list of all the users. Just go with the word list out there /user. Again, just go with share, just go with sec list, just go with usernames, and here you can just go with any word list out there. Top 10 shortlisted, 10 million username, and press enter. Right? Okay. So what we forgot? What happened to this one? Okay, we have to go with the capital U. Just change it to capital U, and then you can specify your directories for the word list. This word list contains like 624370 words. You can see the username counts out there, right? Most probably, if you are using a lengthy word list, most probably you got most of the usernames out of them. But if you are using a small word list, like it contains around 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 words, probably you got some less usernames out there, right? So you can use a word list which have more and more words out there to get more and more information. We got some emails. So we got the name for the user, like mail user was there, root user was there, service user, news, and some of the users were there. Like user was also there, right? So we can use different scripts. Again, we have some scripts for the SMTP service in the Nmap as well. We have some scripts for the SMTP service in the Metasploit framework as well, which you can use. But again, for some services, we have some specific tools as well. Like if I just go with other one, let's go with simple, like domain was used generally, HTTP service. I have already explained this, how to enumerate, like you can just go with the directories. Like I have already told you in the last session when we covered the recon and footprinting part, how to go with the brute force for all the directories. You can use the derp tool for that. Right? You can use the derp tool when you are brute forcing for the directories. You can specify your custom word list as well with the derp tool. Other than this derp tool, you can use sublister to identify all the subdomains for that service, for that not for the service, for that specific domain. Right? You can use some tools like subdomain. You can use some tools like sublister. Other than this, yes.
Sure. So the enumerate this command for the guessing the username and password to catch the username password for the system. Enumerate.
Like this command.
Enumerate this one. Yeah, here down in the SMTP user dash enumerate.
This is just for the user enumeration. Let's say this is the tool name. This is not the command. This is the tool name.
Okay.
You can you can take it like you can take it as a software.
Yeah,
Like we
excellent.
have the Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Paint.
Yeah.
At the
So,
same time,
sir,
at the same
yeah,
yes.
from where you are getting this of the software? Do you
Like
have a list or what, or you are save it in your mind? That's all, or what?
no. Most of the tools which I am downloading here, all of these tools were listed in the notes as well. You can just go with simple Google. Let's say when you want to identify some tools for the SMTP service, just go on the Google and just go with simple search. Again, you can use some Google Docs, which will filter out your results. Just search here
Yeah.
for SMTP enumeration tools, right? And I know most of the tools were there in the GitHub repository. So I can just get the result to specific github.com. And this will show me a list of tools which I can use for SMTP enumeration. And SMTP user enumeration was the first link which I got. That's why I have downloaded this one. But when you go
Okay.
with the simple command apt install this SMTP user enumeration, that tool will be downloaded from this repository. We just go with the command let's go with etc apt and sources.list. When I just go with the command apt install SMTP user enumeration, right? What my Kali do? My Kali will first verify, is there any username? Is there any tool with the name SMTP user enumeration on that specific server or not?
Mm.
My Kali NX will first verify the tool name, my Kali will first verify that the tool was available on that specific server or not, right? If the tool was available, then my Kali will download that tool from the specific server and install it in my machine. Otherwise, other than this, if the tool was not available, if the tool was not available at that time, you can just go with the Google, go with the GitHub link, and you can just clone the repository. It's simple git clone command, and you can use that tool. Or just to get a list of all the tools for all the specific services, you can just go with simple Google search. This will help you to
Yes.
get a list of all the tools which you can use for the specific services.
Mm.
But some of the tools were pre-installed in Kali Linux, like Nmap is one of them. Nmap is
Yes.
one of them. And we have some awesome scripts in the Nmap which you can use. If I just go with
Yes.
other services like SMB was there, right? So inside the Nmap, we have some scripts like we'll just go with this one, right? And just go with the target as 1.3 and press enter, right? At this time, this will only execute the scripts for the SMB services. Please specify the port number as well, -P 135 and 445 and press enter. So you can use Nmap, it's a pre-installed tool. You can use Metasploit framework again. That was a pre-installed tool which you can use at the same time. And both these tools, Nmap and Metasploit framework, they were the complete package. They were the complete package, right?
Yes.
You can just stick to those two tools, or you can directly search on the Google for different tools, different available on the GitHub, and you can just give it a try for all of them one by one. Maybe some of them will work, some of them will not work, but you can give them a try, right?
Mm.
So other than this, I'm just waiting for the result for this simple SMB execution for all this command. Other than this, we have one more service out there, which was VNC. VNC. VNC service was generally used to get a
RDB.
GUI RDP, you can say,
Like RDB.
like RDPS. So VNC was generally used to get a complete GUI connection to the victim's machine. But right now, by Metasploit version 2, would is still like it's a complete CLI based machine. But again, even after that, I can use this service because it's running. Because a VNC server was running, I can just connect to that VNC server through some utilities which I already have in the Kali Linux, or you can just install them. But it comes pre-installed with Kali Linux, right? Just go with the command VNC viewer, which you can use, and just press enter. You got the server names, you got some values. specify that server name, and server was running at 1.3. Okay,
To see if there is RDB or not. Yeah.
just specify. Okay, first we have to identify the username and password. Sorry for that. So first we have to identify the username and password, because VNC again requires you authentication. You have to authenticate yourself for the VNC service, for the RDB services as well. And again, for the enumeration of VNC service, you can use some auxiliaries in the Metasploit framework. Just go back here and search for VNC and press enter. Here we got some values. Just go with the auxiliaries out there at the top, and let's go with the VNC login. Just copy it, or you can use the number 3. Just go with the command use number 3, enter, and just go with the command options and press enter. Here we got some values, some options you can say, which you have to configure, right? Just stick to these required values. So this one, rhost value was required. So first configure the rhost, set rhost, and it was 1.3. Second required value was configured. Third was also, fourth one also, and one more which you can go with, like all were configured. All right, if all the values were configured, then we can directly execute this one. Let's just go with the command run, and we got the results. And here we got the plus symbol. It means we got the success results out there. If we got the minus, means we don't have any success results, but we got the plus, means we got the success results. Here username was blank out there, but password was password. So you can use this word password as your password, and your username was blank out there, right? So in Windows, in Kali Linux, we have some VNC viewer which you can use. And for the VNC viewer, let's just check here. VNC viewer, option, host, and display. Okay, and instead of this thing value, you can actually use some viewer on the Kali Linux. You can just, instead of using this VNC viewer in the terminal, you can use some viewer on the Windows machines as well. Let me just check, do I have the VNC viewer out there? VNC viewer. Just search on the Google again. Tiger VNC viewer is again one of the best which you can go with. You can just download the server from the Tiger. You can just download the viewer from the Tiger. That was one of the best. Or you can just go with real VNC again. That's a good one. Just download the VNC. I want the viewers only. Just download it.
I think you need to install in the destination area something called VNC server.
VNC server was already running on that Metasploit machine. That's why I got the spot as open.
Yes.
Server was already running.
Yeah. So 1.1.1.3, it's the Spilot machine, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
1.3 is the IP address for this Metasploitable machine. For this one, for this vulnerable machine.
That you need to attack. Yeah.
And that I'm attacking right now. Just install your viewer out there, and after installation, you can use it. Let's just go with the VNC viewer. Enter. Okay. Just enter the address as 1.3. Enter. Don't worry me. Continue. Asking for the password. Username was blank out there. The password was password. Capital P. Password. And let's just check. Okay. Authentication. Let me just copy the password from here. What was the password? It's small p. All right. Just copy it.
From where I can bring the password?
Yeah.
From where I can bring the password?
Tomorrow you can bring the password.
From where I can bring the password?
You have to brute force again. You can use some scripts. You can even go with the brute force. Brute force is one of the most common way to get the passwords.
Still, you are not getting this one, right?
So I got the password through the brute force. If we just goes back to
I,
Kali
I,
Linux, yes,
yeah, I know brute force is still we are not studied. Maybe tomorrow, right, or after that.
we have studied the brute force.
We got it. The brute force? No, still.
This auxiliary, this module, auxiliary scanner VNC view login. This is
Okay.
also used for the brute force.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You can see the password files out there. You can see the user files out there.
Yes.
Username was blank. You got the result. If you want to specify the username files, you can specify the username files as well. By default, it works with some password file. It works with the brute force. We have some
Okay.
options for the threads. So upon success was false. Number of threads was 1. This auxiliary was used for the brute force. If we just go with the information
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
and scroll above, you can see this module will test the VNC server on a range of machine and report success logins. Means we are attacking on the authentication for the simple brute force attack or dictionary attack, you can say, right? So we got the password, we got the username as blank, we got the password as password through which I can connect to the VNC server, and you can see I am inside that VNC server. If I just go with the magnifier, and you can see I'm inside this 1.3 as root user. Machine name was Metasploit table. If I just go with the who am I, or don't go with who am I, just go with IF config. I got the result as 1.3. Right? So you can go with these services as well. Again, Metasploit framework MSF is the complete package. Nmap is again one of the complete package which you can go with. Otherwise, just search on the Google for different tools for different services. But the important factor was if you know how that service works, only then you can enumerate about the service. Right? Let's say if you want to go with like services like MySQL or PostgreSQL or some X11 part or some simple R login part, NFS services, then you should know how those services works. If you know how MySQL works, how to connect that SQL server, only then you can connect, only then you can verify the authenticity. Only then you can verify the configuration for this MySQL service. So you need to know the services first, then you can better enumerate those services.